What's going on YouTube? This is Ipsec. I'm doing Shoppy from HackTheBox, which is a relatively easy Linux box as long as you're good at recon enumeration, because there's two pieces that are a little bit challenging. The first one being enumerating that the web application is NodeJS, which you can do based upon the error messages, and knowing it's Node makes the login SQL injection much easier because most Node applications use NoSQL like MongoDB, and the injection you do there is some type of boolean injection that hasn't been done on HackTheBox before, but it is on HackTrick, so if you just look at MongoDB injection, should be relatively straightforward to log into the application. The next hard part of Shoppy is doing the subdomain brute forcing, because there is a domain mattermost.shoppy.htb, and the Mattermost subdomain doesn't appear on a lot of older word lists because Mattermost is a somewhat new application. And once you do that, you can log into the box and everything is pretty straightforward from there. So let's just jump in. As always, we're going to start off with an nmap, so -sc for default scripts, sv enumerate versions, oa output all formats, put in the nmap directory and call it Shoppy, and then the IP address of 10.10.11.180. This can take some time to run, so I've already ran it. Looking at the results, we have just two ports open, the first one being SSH on port 22, and its banner tells us it's a Debian box. Then we also have HTTP on port 80, its banner tells us it is running Nginx, and we also have the HTTP title nmap script saying that it is a redirect to shoppy.htb. So if we just went to 10.10.11.180, it's going to give us an error message because our box does not know where shoppy.htb is. So let's fix that. So I'm going to go in my Etsy host file, 10.10.11.180, shoppy.htb, save that. We can refresh this. I just did Control-Shift-R, and now we get to a page. The Shoppy beta is coming soon. Stay tuned for access. So the very first thing I always do is check the HTML source to see if it leaks what type of framework this is, and I don't really see anything that sticks out to me. I mean, we got some JavaScript files, but every website has JavaScript. So the next thing I'm going to do, set this up to intercept just for a easy way to see all the server headers. And I'm mainly looking for like X powered by, because that generally leaks some type of information. I don't see anything other than Nginx. So we have no idea what framework this is. We could like go try triggering a 404 error message. So I'm just going to go to like /please subscribe to see what error messages look like here. And we just have this cannot get /page URL. And this is a Node.js thing. I want to say Express, but I've never really played with a Node application that I can remember that isn't Express, so I don't know if it's like chicken before the egg type of scenario. But if you just Google cannot get /, you get a bunch of results telling you it is Node.js. So just keep that in the back of the mind as we're playing with this application, that it's like JavaScript on the background. So the first thing I'm going to do is like test some basic things. If we go to like /admin, it redirects us to /login. So remember what I just said about it being Node. Chances are this isn't going to be MySQL. So we can't do just like this payload probably won't work if we put that in the password. And we just get wrong credentials. It's probably going to be MongoDB, which is a NoSQL database. So the very first thing I generally do whenever testing this is let's just get a credential inside of Burp Suite. Click login. So if this was a PHP app that used it, we could probably use like this scalar or array on username. But I want to say this is a very much PHP thing. And we get this redirect to wrong credentials when we're wrong. So since this is a NPM server, I don't think this will work. And it's either a PHP thing or Apache thing where you can pass variables this way. I want to say it's like PHP and Perl that's common, but not Node.js. In Node.js, typically what you do is you convert it to JSON. So we get this. We have wrong credentials. I'm going to change it from xww form URL encoded to JSON, and then we just fix our payload. So it's username is equal to admin, and password is equal to, whoops, not equals. Please subscribe. And thank you, syntax highlighting. So we still have this. It's redirecting to wrong credentials. If we had missed out a variable like password, we'd get a clear error that is trying to process JSON. So we know we have rendered this correctly, or at least we're in the JSON function. And this is key because in this, remember when I did the username, then let's see, I want to keep it highlighting, like not equals to something. Well, we can do the same thing in JSON form, except put it on the right side, which is when it gets processed. So I'm going to say the password is not equal to blank, right? So now when I send this after I add my bracket, the server's just hanging. And I don't know exactly why it's hanging here, but it never returns. So I'm going to go back here. We can start going back to repeater. And I can kind of replicate that if I played with this more. If I put a single quote here, it still hangs. So I think if we create some type of error message, the application just hangs up. And this injection is not working. There is another type of injection we can do in NoSQL, and that is if we do this double pipe, that is an OR statement. So you can say admin or 1 equals 1 like this. And let's cancel this request, start it up again, and it is still hanging. And I just realized what I did wrong. We need 2 equal signs here. And now we are redirected to admin. And this may look weird, right? We can maybe explain it better if we go into the console. So right now, the statement was something along the lines of where username is equal to admin. So we're going to assume we know the username is equal to admin. So we do true. And then we put an OR statement. And the OR statement was also true. But then there's an and false. Because with this, we didn't make sure the password's correct, right? In general SQL injection, we put a comment out, so it's ignoring the password. In this, we didn't do that, right? But this still translates to true, which is a bit weird. If we, humans, will probably read this left to right, right? So if we tell the computer that's what we want to do by using parentheses, so it's true or true and false, now the statement's false. So what's happening here is, we can also do false, false, right? Is it's treating this as true and then treating this statement as the first one it goes to. So it's going to solve this. It says false and false, okay? And then it says or true, so the statement's going to be true. It's just weird how I guess JavaScript processes variables, right? That's just not what I would expect. So we can copy this username and then just log in with it, right? So I'm going to do login, admin, password can literally be anything. Wait, we have to do equals, 2 equal signs, login. Maybe copy and refresh this page. Oh wait, is it going to Burp Suite? Okay, this one now will work, right? Yes, we are now in this product app. Let's see. We can go to the search for users, search a user, admin, download the export, and we get username admin, password is this hash. So we want to try to export all the users from this before we just go cracking this, right? I'm going to add this to hashes.txt just in case we want to. But there's probably going to be other users in this database, right? So we can maybe do admin pipe, or let's do single quote, 1 is equal to 1, like this. So we're downloading, hopefully, all users. And that one did not work. And I'm not sure why. I'm going to copy this payload, do it again, still just get 1. Oh, I I think when I click this button, this form doesn't get read. So if we just go to search users, what it looked like at the very beginning didn't have that button, right? So I put this in, hit enter, and it puts this username up here. And I think this is what the download export uses, not this search box, which I guess just a janky web app. But now if I download the export, we have a list of every user because the search is searching for the admin or true, right? And every user is going to be true. So we can now copy this hash for Josh and we insert it in the database. And then I'm just going to cat it so we can copy, go over to the Kraken so I can quickly crack these hashes. Actually, this just looks like MD5 sums, right? Yeah, so we can probably just Google, what is it? CrackStation probably will work. CrackStation.net for MD5s. Put these in. Let's see if it cracks. Clicking bicycles. Okay. Is that it? Oh, another bike. Verify. Sweet. So we have the bottom hash. The 6EB is MD5, and the password is remember me this way. So didn't even have to go to the Kraken. That password was Josh's. So Josh, so we can try sh josh at 10 10 11 180 and put in the password remember me this way. And we don't get in. I'm just going to test my clipboard out. There's no trailing space. Everything looks fine. So we have to figure out what else there is to this box. I don't see any functionality here where we could like leak files or do any other type of login. I guess we could try logging in as Josh to see if there's anything else under the Shoppy admin. But we could have also done a dir bust, right? So if we do, I'm just going to use ffuf. We can do ffuf-u, put in shoppy.htb, and then -h for header. And I want to say host is equal to fuzz like this. And then the word list we're going to use is opt sec list discovery DNS. And this one's going to be tough. Normally I like using the subdomains top 1 million, but using hindsight, the word is not in that list. You should always use multiple DNS sub brute forcing techniques. So I'm going to try this bitquirk subdomains. And I think that's all we have to do, right? Actually, we need to do fuzz.shoppy.htb. Let's see. And fuzz, I guess, is capital. And what we're going to do is filter size, or we can do filter words 5. So we're going to hide everything that's just 5 words, which is the cannot get thing, right? So running this, it may take a little bit. I guess we can try logging into the admin. I typed it. Let's see. Let's get rid of our cookies. So storage, cookie. We could also enumerate this cookie to see how it's generated, right? But we can log in with Josh, remember me this way. And it's still the same exact app. We don't have any other functionality. So waiting for our ffuf to finish. And we finally got a hit on Mattermost. So let's add this to our host file. So sudo vi etc host. And we can do mattermost.shoppy.htb. Save this. And log in. So now let's take, well, once Mattermost actually loads, we can do Josh, remember me this way, because that's the only credentials we have. And now we're logged into the Mattermost instance. So clicking on all the channels, coffee break is empty. Deploy machine, which is a private channel, does have some credentials. So we see a message from Jaeger saying, for the deploy machine, you can access it with these creds. And then, let's see, we're going to use doc of a deployment. We look at development. And we have Josh talking about some type of password manager in C++, along with just talking about the general layout of the admin interface. If we go into the thread, nothing really interesting. So the key piece is this deploy machine. So let's take a look at it. So if we do SSH, actually, is it up here? Yep. So SSH Josh at 10.10.11.180. Actually, that's the wrong credentials. We want the username to be deploy, right? So we do deploy, log in. That is the correct thing. Oh, Jaeger. He gave his own credentials. Users will always do silly things, right? So now we're logged in as Jaeger. And we have this Shoppy start, and we can just cat that and see nothing real fancy there. If we look at sudo, we can see Jaeger may run this password manager binary. So if I go lsla home deploy, we have the source code here for password manager. So if I look at passwordmanager.cpp, permissions denied. So I guess we can't view it. Only the deploy user can. We also have creds.txt that only deploy can read. We have the password manager. So if I just execute it, actually I can't execute it. I have to execute with sudo. So sudo-l. Let's do sudo-u deploy this. And please enter the master password. We'll enter, please subscribe, and access is denied. So the first thing I would do is create a bunch of A's and just try like a buffer overflow, right? So let's do the password manager, put in a ton of A's, longer than any password should be. And we don't see any type of crash. So probably not a buffer overflow. The next thing I would do is take a look at the strings against it. So if we strings password manager and then go searching around, let's see, there weren't that many. We have a system call. Here are some strings. So welcome to the password manager. Please enter your password. We have it just doing cat, and cat doesn't have a fully qualified path, which leads me to believe this could be done with path injection. However, this isn't a setuid binary. It's being ran by sudo. If we do sudo-l, we can see secure path and environment reset is set, so we can't change the path. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can probably just go to ipsec.rocks and type like path injection or path hijack. But essentially, when it runs cat, it's going to run the cat in user bin cat because user bin is in the path. If we put like /temp at the beginning of the path and then created a cat binary, it would execute that instead of the one in user bin, and that's where we get code execution. But since it's sudo, we can't really do that. I didn't really see any other strings that were interesting. It's definitely catting the deploy creds, right? And we could just run this back in Ghidra, but there are other encoding methods with strings, right? So we can do EL for little endian, and we get sample. And that's the only string we get when we change the encoding method, right? So if I run this sudo again, let's see, sudo-u deploy, home deploy, password manager, enter the password sample. That is the credential, and we get logged in. At the end of the video, we'll look at it in Ghidra and figure out the password that way. But strings is a really good tool, and definitely always try changing the encoding methods, right? So if I look at -e, let's see what other methods there are. I think it's like, yeah. Let's see. Capital S, lowercase b, capital B, lowercase l, and capital L, right? Lowercase l was 16-bit little endian. Capital L would be 32-bit little endian. So you could look at the other strings. So if we just did capital L, we get nothing. If we do B, we get sample as well. Capital B, we don't. Lowercase s, we get pretty much what we saw before, right? And then capital S, we get some extra things, but no sample. So let's just run this and log in as the user we want. So password was sample. We get deploy, and deploying app is the password. So sh deploy at 10.10.11.180. We could just use su to switch users, but generally I like establishing a new SSH when I can. If I look at the password manager.cpp, we can see how they encoded the password. So they just did this one character at a time. I think they did this so it didn't end up in strings, but I mean, it still did. So you generally want to use some type of encryption or at least XORing if you want to hide passwords from strings. So now that we're this deploy user, let's do a sudo-l to see what we can run. What was the password? Deploy app, like this. And deploy may not run sudo on Shoppy. So look at the files in the home directory to see if they give anything. Nothing really is too interesting. Bash history is pointed dev null. DB shell is also pointed dev null. I don't know what creates that file. I've never really seen it before, but nothing really interesting. So the next thing I'm going to do is take a look at the groups, and I can see that I'm a member of the Docker group. And Docker is a service that runs as root, and you can generally always privesc if you can run a Docker container, because if you're in a Docker container that has elevated privileges, like the sysadmin capability, you can elevate to root on the host. So it makes sense that if I can create Docker images, that I would be able to just convert myself to root. So I'm going to do Docker images to see what images already exist. And we have Alpine, which is a super common, really small Linux distribution. We can see it's just 5.5 megs big. But all I'm going to do is a docker run, and then I'm going to specify rm to delete the container when it's done, and then -it for interactive terminal, I think, and then -v for mount point. I'm going to mount slash to slash mount. So inside the container, slash mount will be mounted at slash of the root system. And then I'm just going to execute the Alpine image. I'm going to call it bin.sh. So now I'm in the container. And if I go to /mount, it looks like we have another file system in here, right? We could also just chroot dot at this point. So I chrooted into /mount, and it's just like I'm on the host system, right? So I go to /root, and we get root.txt. Because again, the /mount directory of this container is the slash of the root file system. And it looks like there may be some type of scheduled task that is deleting running Dockers. But we don't have to do the chroot. We could just do mount root and get root.txt that way. We could also drop an SSH key here and then SSH into the box. So hope you guys enjoyed all of that. Now we have to do the password manager reversing with Ghidra. So let's copy it over to our host. So I'm going to do scp deploy at 10.10.11.180, and then the path of it was home deploy password manager. And then we're going to copy the password, paste it in, and we have it copied to our box. So now I'm just going to open Ghidra, and then we'll import the binary and see what it says about it. I probably should update this. This is like almost like a year and a half old at this point. Let's see, file, new project. We don't really care about a project name because I don't save in my Ghidra stuff for these videos. Let's see, it's opening. Gonna hit I for import. And then let's go to Shoppy and the password manager. Okay. And it's going to ask me like what options I want to analyze. I'll just do the defaults. So it looks like it is all done. I'm going to look at the exports first, go over to main, and we can see what it is doing here. And right off the bat, we see sample right here. So as soon as you click on main, you understand what's happening. What I generally would do is I'd look for strings because the program was asking for like our master password. So I'd probably go, what is it? There's a view for strings, right? Windows, functions, not symbol tree. Pretty sure it was in search. There we go, 4 strings. And we're just going to search all the strings. I'm going to go to all blocks and not just loaded blocks. And this is just the strings of the program. I don't think sample is here. If we look, no, it is right here. So we do have that string. But the one we wanted was, what was it? Master password or something? Please enter a master password. So typically, if a program's asking for a password, then the input is going to be around the same exact spot in code. So if we click here, then it's going to highlight right here for us. So let's look at the disassembly. So we can see, please enter your master password. We highlight a few things. Actually, this is a function. So we can right click, go to references, show references to it. And we see that we go right here in the code for that. So this is where it's loading that string. Because what we looked at was just where the string exists in the program, right? So this is where it actually pulls the string from the program. And we just highlight around. We can see the decompiled code right here. And then the next string is sample. So that's kind of how you also know that that is the password. And you may be wondering, like, if we look at the source code, the author did try to prevent the password from just showing up in strings. Because if we look at it, passwordmanager.cpp, maybe we'll do it from deploy. Let's see. Right here, they put it 1 character at a time. So most people would think, well, since I'm adding this 1 character at a time, it's not going to show up as a string, right? So let's take a look at exactly what this looks like. So I'm going to do XXD against this, and then we're just going to go password manager, pipe it over to less. So now we have just the hex output, right? So I'm going to look for sample. We don't find it. I'm going to go A period M. Let's see, M period P. Here we go. Here's where the password is stored. And because we added it 1 character at a time, we just have it going with this like S with a null byte, then A, a null byte, then P, and a null byte. And by adding the null byte, because the null byte is coming, because every time you terminate, I believe, it just terminates that string with a null byte. I'm not 100% positive, but that's what I'd be guessing is going on, because we have this quote S quote, and how you terminate a string is null byte. So really, we add S null byte to the master password is what I'm guessing. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but by doing that, we just convert it into little endian format, even though that was not the intention. So hope you guys enjoyed that video. Take care, and I will see you all next time.